Welcome back to Fighters Drinking Coffee. It's just Scott and I today. We're going to be talking about picking a weight class, weight cutting. So we're going to get into it. Scott and I have both been in a multitude of weight classes, so we have some input there.
Yeah, dude. We were talking before we started recording about what we're discussing right now, and it came up for me. I'm going to Chicago in a couple days. By the time people hear this, I will have already been in Chicago, whatever, for the IBJJF. And at my age and my weight, I am content at the moment with competing at the lightweight division, which is 162.5 pounds. And once upon a time, I was doing the featherweight division, the one below that, 148.8 pounds. And the nightmarish experience, sounds a lot, I'm making it sound worse than it is, but realizing a couple of years ago that, at least in the IBJJF, and I'll get into the details in a second, for people who don't either haven't competed in the IBJJF or just have no idea what that is altogether, and why that's an important distinction there. But I had to realize, and I'm happy about it, that going down to 148 is too difficult for me, and just physically, and this is like something for people who are listening. If you're a competitor, if you're a seasoned competitor, you definitely know this. If you're new, or if you're just listening because this is a fun subject and you have no intentions of ever doing this, but weight cutting it's just brutal on the body.
And if not done correctly, it can be pretty unsafe. Like, there's a right way and a wrong way, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And I've done the wrong way most of the time. And as I've gotten older and competed more, I've gotten better at it. Now I'm fairly dialed in, always trying to like take notes every time I do one and track how well it was. And based on how you perform, if your weight cut was good or bad or in between. But the thing about the IBJJF, and it's what's worth talking about it, the International Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu Federation, that's what IBJJF is, they have their weight cut like a handful of minutes before your first match. If you're lucky sometimes, and you were cutting, sometimes there will be some logistical error on their part and you'll make weight, and then there will be like an extra 20, 30, 40 minutes because something organizationally is off and your match gets pushed back, at which point you can hydrate if you want to eat. I don't like to eat right before I compete. No. Some people do, but you can cram that like rehydration and eating in as you see fit, but for the most part, it's like you weigh in and then you're usually up 5, maybe 10 minutes later.
Yeah, and like that timing of your weigh in too, like we'll probably get into the real details of it, but like you kind of want to get in that bullpen as close as possible. Like, well, yeah. I personally, that's how I like it, but like that'll give you as much time. You really don't have much time, like to rehydrate, like refeed. I don't eat while I'm competing either. I don't eat until after the tournament for the most part.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like you really have to know, like I might step on this scale and I'm probably going straight out.
You got to get locked in.
Or you could be in there for a while. Like, but,
it happens, but for the most part, like you said, it's once you weigh in the IBJJF, it's like it's game time. You're going pretty quickly.
Yeah.
This is a funny thing about the IBJJF, is it's consistently inconsistent. But once you go in, like in theory, like your name will be on a TV screen like that. It'll say your mat. It'll show you the number of matches in front of you. But almost 100% of the time, something won't go according to even what the TV screen says. Oh, yeah. So you'll walk in and they'll be pulling your ass up right away. And you might think you even get a chance to sip some water, and you really don't. But again, point there is that you need to figure out in advance your weight class. Understand how to optimize yourself performance-wise so that weight cut's not so terrible on you that you can't perform basically right away after making weight.
Well, and especially with that sort of like environment for it, the way it's played out, like there's a multiple factors that are going to get in the way of like you're getting on the mat, right? You have to uniform check, weight check. So like each one of those things takes up time. And then if any one of those is wrong, really, I mean, you only really get one chance at the weigh-in for the most part, depending on how close it is. If your match is up and you step on that scale and you're heavy, you're probably not going on. So that it's a really easy way to just end up just auto forfeiting your match, just defaulting out. So you have to be pretty on top of it going into it, especially when you're picking your weight class.
Yeah, thankfully I haven't had that issue. I've never missed excuse me, I've never missed weight before, but I fucked up the weight cut enough times to back to what I was saying earlier, to land on like, all right, lightweight makes sense for me personally. I feel strong there. I feel well fed. I'm never really starving myself to have to hit that weight class. Not right now. Maybe if I go up in weight, but whatever. Later. Talk about that later. Make weight. The uniform check, like, dude, like, that's all. Yes, it's true, but like, if you can't figure out the uniform part, like, what the fuck are you doing?
Oh yeah, I'm just saying. There's like.
There's a couple stopgaps.
You have some like roadblocks.
They're gonna check your nails. They like check your fingernails and shit. So yeah, you're right. There's technically multiple things.
They made me change my belt. They made me buy a new belt at the last one.
No kidding.
Yeah.
What was wrong with your belt?
It was too ripped.
Really?
Yeah.
Was it ripped?
It's a little ripped. I mean, it's 10 years old.
Tattered. All right, so maybe they were right on that one.
They were a little right.
Get your dusty ass purple belt. Get a new purple belt, bro.
So, it's fine.
Yeah, whatever.
But like you don't want any of those. Even if you do have time, if you step on that scale and you're heavy and like, I don't even know if they give you another chance to do it. But if they do, I haven't had issues. I haven't had to worry about it. But if they do, like, that's one more thing that's gonna break your mental thing. So you have to be pretty on top of it. You don't want to have like that. You're ready to go in, and now all of a sudden you're cutting weight, right?
Yeah. Well, they have a test scale for what it's worth. The test scale helps with that, but 100%, I get it. Yeah, dude. Like it's just get in there and do your fucking thing.
Yeah.
And if you're at all nervous about competing and you're stressed as you're going out there, you're kind of anxious before your first match, like, nothing will fuck your head up even more, like being told you did something wrong right there at the finish.
Yeah.
Yeah, so to figure all that shit out, do your homework, but working backwards, like the weight cut, like, okay, so like I said, I'm going to Chicago in a couple days. I am a little heavy right now. That's intentional. I want to be. For those listening, a little bit of strategy, for, again, relevant to IBGF, knowing that I don't really want to do a water cut for it, because of the reasons we just talked about, like for me, like I don't mind trimming down a little bit on the food to make weight. Water, on the other hand, that's a rough one. You really, it's being dehydrated and competing in any sport, any athletic endeavor, doesn't make sense. Definitely doesn't make sense in a combat sport.
Oh, absolutely not. I mean, I'd rather compete hungry than thirsty. So
totally, yeah, exactly. So, like, going into that, tapering down, like for me, if I'm like within like 5 pounds of my weight class about a week out, which I am, maybe a little bit more, but whatever, auditing my diet, plus like you do this enough times, like you know how to like lose just on diet 1.5 to 2 pounds pretty easy without being like sucked out. Like that's, I got a little bit more than that I got to work with, but 2 pounds, I could get down to like 64.5, super easy right now.
And you get super dialed into like, all right, I know when I eat these things, if I cut out X, X, Y, and Z, I'm gonna immediately like.
Is it usually carbs for you?
It's usually like reducing the amount. I mean, that's usually what works for me.
Yeah. Same.
I know water, like carbs hold more water, and they draw in more water is another part of it. So like, you just don't hold as much water. I think that's part of the reason why.
It's carbs for me too. Like I'll do a little surprise. I'll be a little extra carnivorous for like 3 or 4 days. Like that's what I'm gonna do here in a couple days. I already bought, for those listening, like 6 more steaks. So I'm good.
I feel like it feels like you eat more too when you're not like. When I'm not eating the carbs too, like on that last, so I feel a little more. I don't know.
Yeah,
I space it out more too. I think.
I mean, keep in mind, like the other thing too is like, again, for these types of tournaments, like jiu-jitsu is a little bit different than like an MMA fight, for example, where like you'll do a full fight camp for like a regional tournament, like what I'm doing. Like there's some extra preparation and some work to get dialed in for competition. However, for some athletes, I'll use Andrew as an example. Like she did like in a month, I think it was this month, but recently she did like three weeks back to back of events, and at a certain point, I say like it's almost like think like you're in a season for like a sport. Like your training becomes like it's like a season. Like it becomes very consistent.
Yeah.
A major tournament like an ADCC or a PANS or Worlds or whatever. Like you'll do a full camp because the stakes are a little bit higher. However, for me, my point of bringing all this up, and I was connected to Andrea's story there, is that like we were in like if you're competing so consistently for something like a regional, it's kind of routine. You're going to continue training at a pretty high velocity, a normal high velocity. Maybe you push it a little bit, but I brought this up because I'm going to be training as much, maybe a little bit more the last like 5 days. And if I'm starting to cut my intake down on food, I need to be able to perform on the mat in training. Obviously, I'm looking a couple days ahead because I'm needing to perform on game day too. In other words, still need food.
Yeah, you want to make sure you still have enough energy to get the good reps.
100%.
That you're not just like dragging through your training
and that's again that goes back to picking the weight class. Like I shouldn't need to do that, right? I should be able to like eat like we talked about. So like personally, what I will do in regards to like carbs and protein is like I'll cook a shit ton of steak or whatever. I'll cook a bunch of eggs, whatever the protein thing that I'm eating first, and then
a reminder that steak and eggs, Scott steak and eggs.
I don't think they're gonna forget that, but yeah, but you get what I'm saying. Like I'll cook a bunch of that, and I will cook some carbs. Like I'll cook some potatoes, and I'll have like 2 plates. I have like a fat ass plate of way too much steak, and I'll have a plate of carbs. And what I do, this works for me, is I'll just mash on the plate of steak first, and I just eat and I eat and I eat and I eat and I eat, and I take a second. When I start to feel like I don't want to say full, but it's like satisfied.
Yeah.
I take like a 2-minute break, and then I ask myself, I'm like, all right, like now that I've crushed the most important thing, which is the meat, am I still hungry? How hungry am I? And then based on that, I'll munch on a little bit of like potatoes or rice or whatever, some fruit, but I'll put that like secondary. It's like it then becomes supplementary. And for me, like I'm pretty dialed into my nutrition and my training routine, so like I'll let my body speak to me. Like if I'm like, ooh, I'm really craving carbs, like I probably need them, so I'll eat a little bit more. All of this, by the way, is caveated with the fact that the plate that the 2 plates that I have here, it's all pretty clean ingredients too. So like I can pretty confidently assume that eating the high quality carbs as much or as little as I want. Obviously, if I need to cut, like I will have to go a little bit lighter there, but nonetheless, if it's pretty clean, organic, like not filthy ass bullshit, I ought to be able to eat a good amount of it, and the weight will still come off. Because I will eat some horse shit from time to time. I'll eat some Five Guys. I eat a lot of Five Guys. Well, I like pizza. So like just getting rid of that shit for like a week straight, like pounds will just kind of melt off just by not eating nasty food. Like you can eat carbs, you can definitely eat meat.
Yeah, like it doesn't it doesn't really. We're both saying we cut the carbs out. It's just what works for us. Especially, like, that doesn't necessarily work for everybody.
I'd say trim them down.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even say cut them out completely, yeah, but I know what you mean.
We cut them back, but that's what we found works for us. That might be just the bro science we've subscribed to. It doesn't mean that, like, that might not be a thing that works for you. It does take some experimentation. Like, there is a reality to that. I think a lot of people do cut the carbs back, though. It's pretty consistently across the board.
It's good conventional wisdom on this stuff, for sure.
But you do want to make sure that you're eating what you like, that you feel the best on. And I think that's important. Is like, if you don't have to like, don't just pick a random diet and do that because that's what you're told you have to do. You're going to need to find like where you perform the best, because some people might find that like, hey, I need that extra energy, or I need those extra carbs so that I feel like I have the energy to perform like in training on that week leading up. Or like, or it's like us where like I feel a lot better. I satiate faster, so I don't feel like I have to eat till I'm like bloated or full, because you don't want to feel full. That's going to slow you down. It also, if you're eating till you're full, you've probably eaten too much.
Right.
But so like you want to make sure that you're eating to what performs for you, and this isn't necessarily going to be the best day-to-day diet for you either. What you're eating leading up, remember, we're talking about getting into a specific weight range. So this might not be your daily diet, you know?
It probably isn't your daily diet, and agreed, it shouldn't be. I actually, just sidebar comment, I like the weight cutting ritual a little bit. I just kind of, I don't know, something about it, getting you kind of dialed in for something, I enjoy that. And so a little bit of, as I get closer to the weekend of a tournament or whatever, I like having 1 or 2 days where like maybe I'll miss a breakfast or lunch, but I'll eat that big dinner or whatever. And like that'll also help. It gives, I don't know, it makes me feel a little bit sharper. I like it. I feel a little, I don't know, it's like healthier.
It's part of the like putting on the war paint, right? Like,
I suppose.
Like you get, it's that those, I mean, we'll absolutely talk about rituals at some point.
Right.
Like really deep dive into them. But yeah, like that ritual of the diet change, the weight cutting, like getting those extra sweaty days in so you like feel like you're working and like you feel that weight coming off a little bit. Like you're training a little bit hungrier, you're sweating a little bit. Like I like that too. Like that feels, you feel pretty great afterwards. If you know, some people don't like it though. I know plenty of people that hate it and you know they feel drained from it, but
and I think that's the key thing too, is that like you don't want to, it's like we're not talking about starving ourselves completely. Yeah. You're talking about like a small concentrated window where you have to, and you again, this goes back to something I said about hydration. Like starving yourself is not, it's not conducive for peak athletic performance. So it's about finding how you can like eat your way down in weight. Shout out to Mark Sorello, who's been in my literal corner and in my metaphorical spiritual corner on many a weight cut. To my wrestling coach, I've known him for many years. He was a wrestler, so like these dudes, like no one knows how to handle a weight cut better than wrestlers. But like eating your weight down that comes from him. I might be like butchering it. Eating your way down, whatever. You guys get what I'm saying?
Yeah, you can diet down or you can water cut. Those are basically your two.
Well, it's like it's his what every time we've gone through a cycle of a significant weight cut to a point where I've actually needed hits back up, because like now I've got it down. I know it pretty well, but they're gonna, whenever I get into a slightly bigger weight cut or a more important one, perhaps is the way to say it, I'll always kind of like check in with him and like get like that extra perspective on how to do this correctly. It's always, as I've gotten older, it's like we eat our way down. We eat every day. It's just choosing what to eat, when to eat. Sometimes it's like, you know, literally measuring the amount of food. Some of that makes some sense when we're talking about like ounces. This is a game of like if you're off by 0.2 pounds in some places, like you said earlier, you might get disqualified.
Yeah.
Well, for me, knowing that I can plan that out, like I'm going to eat every single day up to a tournament, sometimes day of too, depending on where I'm at. It gives you like a little, I mean, number one, like this is why we said it's a short window of time. Weight cutting kind of sucks. It's not nice. Yeah, in a short period of time, I like it, just kind of fired up, gets me locked in, gets you locked in.
Yeah, you kind of embrace this stuff.
But it isn't. Yes, you do. But it isn't. As you said, it's not something you want to do for prolonged periods of time. Whatever. Anyways, yeah, dude. Like being able to like munch every day on some steak for the most part. Steak, eggs, bacon, like things that have lived and died. Kind of nice. It's like rewarding to be able to do that. And that's like something about that. Like I enjoy. It gets you thinking about every bite that you take, and like it's like more like fuel going into an engine. You know, like you're going into like a Formula One race. Like you want like the best possible fuel. You don't want Shake Shack running through your veins. You want high octane gas in the tank. And so you start thinking about that shit. You start like the food that you put on your plate, because like when you're not eating that much, every little bit you get to eat, you worship that plate a little bit more. Yeah. So you think about it more like, all right, I'm eating this, but like this is this 8-ounce cut of meat and plate of berries or whatever it is that I'm eating. All right, like number one, it tastes a little better because you're limited in what you can intake. So you're like, fuck yeah, I'll eat it. This is great. I get to eat 2 plates today. This one's going to be good. But it's also like knowing that this is the raw materials. This is going to be used tomorrow. It's going to be used in it's going to help. So don't miss the don't miss the meals. Don't miss the meals. Yeah, like so for me, again, like we're a weekish out. The day, like I'll be commuting my ass up to Chicago. Like that's an easy weight cut day for me. Like I can miss a meal there and not really be too worried about it when I'm flying, driving, whatever. It's low energy output, and like as you get closer to your event too. Unless you're in a fucked up situation, which time permitting, I might tell you all about a few of my terrible weight cuts where I've had to do this shit last second.
That's make my things too.
Yeah. But like, leading up to it, the last couple of days are usually lower physical activity anyways, so like you also don't have the caloric mandates that you ordinarily would, which does help with the weight.
Well, that's actually a really big point too. Is we're not working out to get down. You should be like
shouldn't be.
You shouldn't have
shouldn't
to
be.
Yeah, like you, especially for day-ups. Like we shouldn't be trying to increase, or we shouldn't have to increase like any sort of. We shouldn't be adding any additional exercise. Like once you get to a higher frequency of competition, like we're walking around and shit. Like more or less, your cardio's pretty dang close to where it needs to be. You might have a slight increase if you're getting into some like bigger competitions or like, but there's not a whole lot of like, oh, I need to do cardio today. I need to increase that volume.
If you're doing that, that's usually a sign the plan was not a good plan.
But then also we don't want to add the extra stress by increasing the amount of activity just to make weight, because that means you're way too far off, and then that's when you start looking at like, hey, is this the weight division for me? Because especially if you have to make that weight day up. Now, if you're looking at day befores, it becomes a different story. Once we start looking at like, 16 hours, 24 hours, sometimes even 36, like
yeah, it's a lot different.
It becomes a whole different story.
That's a whole nother game. Yeah, the bigger the window between your match and your weigh-ins, the bigger the weight cut can be. And the bigger the weight cut, the bigger the misery.
Yeah.
But if there's a takeaway from all of this, like the underlying strategy behind all of this, for those of you who aren't in combat sports, or if you're new to it, if you're like a veteran, you know this shit already. The reason we do the weight cut to begin with is you want to be as body composition wise, you want to be as big and strong as possible for the weight class that you are in. And so, even though that's a little tricky in the IBJJF, basically like you want to like just be slightly above and just kind of wiggle your way in on a light weight fluctuation into your weight class, and then to be kind of naturally, maybe slightly above, but realistically at the very top of that weight class, without harming the body. In the IBJJF, where as we've discussed, like your weigh-ins and your match are basically the exact same time. But in day before weigh-in situations, like ADCC does this, Fight to Win does this, most MMA events will do this. Some of the bigger ones, like I think UFC now is 36, might even be 48 hours now. These dudes will cut.
They're doing the morning,
the day before. So it's basically 36 hours.
And I know you see the
official weigh-ins.
You see the official weigh-ins done before. You see the ceremonials, what you see on TV.
Yeah, those guys have already made weight.
They've already made.
Yeah, when the public is watching like so and so get on a scale and flex in front of the camera, those dudes are already on weight. Good for them. But yeah, but with those,
some of them that is their official.
So well,
they've missed enough.
That's another example of like you fucked up the plan, dude. But those bigger, like I mean, those for me, when I cut more, it definitely sucks more because you have to like you're gonna suffer a bit. To, like that becomes a water cut, and there's I don't even know if you have time to have a water cuts. We could, but that's a whole thing in and of itself. And there are right ways and wrong ways. Definitely right ways and wrong ways to do that. But you can do it. You can dehydrate for periods of time. Ideally, in my experience, you want the dehydration window to be as little as possible, but as significant as possible up to weigh-ins. So the point being, it's like you don't want to prolong the amount of time that your body's in a hydration and nutrition deficit. Yeah, you want to minimize that. So it's like you want to suck down as little as possible for as short of a window as possible. So like, I'll give you an example. Like we had a fighter a month ago who, dude suffered, but he got on weight like 45 minutes from the weigh-ins, and then as soon as that was done, we were just pounding waters and Gatorades and shit. So like, it was a pain in his ass to do it, but like in theory, it's not a bad weight cut.
Well, and especially so with a water cut, you shouldn't only be doing the water cut here. That should have already been
It's
led
both.
up to
You're right,
the diet,
and that's planned out.
You've already started eating down and like this might be. But we used to start with that last 24 hours before. Pretty much start depending on how far up you are. You're getting close to like so that last 24 hours, and then you start cutting out waters, getting closer. I think we did like morning to
Yeah, that seems to be consistent. That's another one where, like, again, like, if you're in this situation, you better have a coach advising you how to do this. You don't want to do this on your own. Someone has to watch you. But again, credit to Mark. Like when I've been in situations like that, where yes, to your point, it's a combination of you are also. Remember, like, again, takeaway from the listeners, it's like you're trying to keep your body, if you want your muscle mass to be as intact as possible, you're probably going to lose a little bit if you're doing a big weight cut. You'll gain it back, but you want to minimize that. So my way of saying, you still do want to eat, but the eating does decrease. Like the nutritional factor is a major part of that. You basically have two things that you're cutting. It's like food and water. And the dieting has to be thought through a month in advance. You don't have to implement the heavy like nutritional cut a month in advance, but you know what you're going to do and how you're going to do it. Just minimum, like I'd say, cut your time close to a week in advance. And then like I'd say probably 48 hours, depending on the camp and the group of guys that you're working with and what the coach says. 48 hours in that window for the water. It'll come out later, but yeah, then you have like grueling tasks to soak out those, to sweat out the remaining pounds, which stay before, like you can overcome some of that, but just like again, if you want to minimize the suffering or at least decrease the amount of suffering, there will be suffering, but you can manage. Again, it gets easier as you get more and more. Last time I did a bathtub. The bathtub sweat session, which for me, like I hate it, but it works. It works though. It's fucked, but it works. So we do saunas. Sauna was always like kind of like a low, chill version of the workout. You got the water session, but it's not so just struck it in the after the jacuzzi. Sometimes I'll do the shit. Like I didn't use some days. Get a hotel and sitting in the jacuzzi, but like everyone else is like having fun. I'm just sitting like a psychopath, sweating in the bathroom. Yeah. People are like they're like you're they're all like drinking, having fun, and then someone's like fucking slow, like just sweating. But it works.
We're all sitting on the side, just sweating. It's so hot.
Yeah.
Also falling
sorry, dude. Gotta live. It probably would have handled that differently now that I know a little bit more, but whatever. Probably wouldn't have like pigged out in front of you.
It was fine.
You handled it well.
It was just fine.
You handled it well.
One issue with that one though was the Texas Commission won't let you weigh in unless your counterpart is there.
And so that's fucking crazy. Your opponent is what he's saying.
Yeah, so if your opponent's not there, the Texas Commission doesn't let you weigh in. So I had to wait until the very end because I just had to step on the scale because the guy
fuckface didn't showed up. Yeah.
But I'm not going to.
What a miserable. Texas needs to get their shit together. Maybe they've changed that. You think they've changed it?
I would hope they did, dude.
I would hope they.
I was suffering, and they're like, "Oh well, he's." They just called. He's not he's dropping out, so you can go step on the scale now.
God.
And so I was like the
You made
last
weight.
dude to step on. I made weight.
You made weight.
But it's just so awful because
You tortured yourself to make weight, and then they made. Yeah, that's crazy. You gotta here they in a civilized state like Virginia, they let you make weight. You show up. The weigh-in's at a certain time. You show up. You sign the goddamn paperwork, and they're like, step on the scale. All right, you're dismissed. If that other guy doesn't show up, that's on him. Fucking.
I've had that too, but that's I'd take that any day over that Texas shit. That was so bad.
Savages.
But yeah, I mean, like, that was actually the weigh-in was like the weight cut wasn't too bad because like I only had to do a little bit of sweating in the morning.
Well, do you remember like flying out there and feeling like shit?
Yes. The flying while like
you can't drink water, you can't eat.
2 days before? No, we flew out 20.
No, it was 2 days before.
Was it 2 days before?
I think the day before the weigh-in.
Yeah, we got out. That's right. We flew out the day before the weigh-in. We got there like in the morning. It actually was kind of nice just walking around. Like
that
it
helps.
made it super low impact. Like,
it distracts you and you're cutting weight while that's happening.
I think
too.
we just walked around Austin for a while. But then like the next morning, like I woke up, we did like a little bit, and I was on. Charles had to keep going for a few more hours, for like another hour or something.
Yep.
But like it was a great weight cut. But then once I'd been already on for probably 8 hours by the time we got to weigh-ins, I think is how it worked out. And like traveling was probably part of that. Like we dropped a lot of extra weight during the travel. But like the worst part is once you're just waiting. Once you're on weight and you're waiting.
Having distractions is nice.
Yeah.
Having a place you can walk around while you're cutting weight is kind of nice, like you said, because it's like very low impact. You're actually moving around. You just wear like more clothes than you need. You wear sweatpants in like 98-degree weather in Texas,
right.
You will sweat. I've done that. I've done that in Austin, Texas. Same, but different. I had a fight twin during the pandemic, and that was a nice thing. Shout out to Texas during the pandemic, where they just kind of did whatever they wanted, which was awesome. I was there in June or July, so it was hot as fuck, and I was just cruising around downtown Austin in sweatpants, and I met up with Colin, and some of his buddies. They're like biohacker nerd dudes in Austin.
Biohackers and supplement.
Yeah, those guys. They were cool. They were friendly or whatever. Met up at this like coffee shop where I think I allowed myself like an espresso. It was like 2 ounces of caffeine. Thought maybe I'd like take a dump afterwards or something like that if I had some caffeine. And I was just like wearing sweats, like sweating through sweatshirts, and listening to like these dudes talk about like I don't know, their community or whatever. When was the last time you went to Austin?
Probably that fight.
It's full of that. It's full of people like that.
Yeah,
it's fun. I mean, it's kind of cool. It was like a fun distraction for me. Just listening to these dudes talk about like male. It was like pre-manosphere shit.
Oh.
Yeah, kind of some of that stuff though. But I remember thinking like this is hilarious, and I got to walk around and like it was a good distraction. Is all I'm saying. It was like nice cruise around, listen to some silly bro shit for a while, sweat in my sweatpants on the sun. But distraction is I made weight.
Yeah,
I made weight. That was good. I did eat a steak the night before too, so that worked out. Yeah, dude, that's become like a ritual for me. I will do this in Chicago. I travel wherever. I find a steakhouse somewhere. Usually it's a ribeye. If I don't have that much allowance of food, like a 16-ounce ribeye, it's a lot. That's a good size.
Once you've eaten it, water's gotten back into it, it's only a pound.
No, 100%.
You can account for that.
I could get a fillet, I suppose, like an 8-ounce fillet if I'm like really cutting it close on weight. But steak and potatoes is my pre-ritual when I'm allowed to eat.
Yeah, when you're not worried about making weight.
Yeah. Which I don't have to at 162.5.
Yeah. Well, and it's same thing with me right now. Trying to rectify that, but like
you're gonna go
competing at no, I'm just gonna increase I'm looking to do the opposite of a weight cut. I'm looking to put on some extra mass. So then I do have to cut. Right now I'm already pretty lean, so like there's not a lot of weight cutting left to do, but I'm pretty much right at the weight all the time. So like that would make me relatively small for my weight division.
But you're gonna get up to where you're at the ceiling of your weight class.
That's what I'm looking to do. So like right now I'm like a pound below the limit, so I want to get up to the ceiling, so I have to like drop that little bit. And this is specifically with the IBJJF.
Totally.
With anything more than 30 minutes, it becomes a whole.
It becomes a different thing, man.
So that's not. But like, I'm looking to do the opposite right now. I'm looking to get up so that I'm now also cutting. But right now, I still have to taper. Like if I eat whatever I want, I'm gonna be over.
Yeah.
But like same thing. I'm making a steak the night before. I'm eating steak.
Damn right. So. Yeah, that when I first started doing this weight class, I was kind of like high but like mid range for the like weight wise. I just noticed guys they weren't stronger. They were just bigger. There's more mass to move around, and still better than going on to 148.8. But I was going into like 156, 157, and I had about 4 or 5 extra pounds. And there were a few dudes cutting down, doing what we're talking about here, who, manageable, they're just big. So it was just like, all right, like I want to be as big as these motherfuckers.
Well, and that's something too. Like, I don't feel weak at my weight class, but I'd like to feel stronger.
Yeah.
You know, why not? Like when you get into this, like we're all you're competing against people of theoretically equal skill, or at least within close to skill. Mm-hmm. And once you're getting there, like all of the other stuff starts to matter. Like your strength starts to matter, your agility starts to matter a lot more than if you're vastly better, right? Like if you're technically like your skill level is way higher, then that strength difference isn't as important for you.
Right, I understand.
Like when you're doing these competitions, like
point taken,
it matters.
Point taken. There was I think it was Pan Am's a couple of years ago, where might have been nationals, whatever, like a tournament where, to that point, I made weight and I went up for my first match, and there's this guy who just was like, he was just bigger than me. He was like noticeably bigger. He was taller than me. He had a wider frame. He was not stronger than me, and I was better than him, but I shot in on a single leg and I threw him to the ground. But there was like a moment where like I had like, this was my first match, so I was like fresh. I had like all my energy, all my power was pretty intact, and I grabbed his leg and I slung him to the mat with a lot of force. But ironically, here I am like throwing this guy to the ground, scoring my points. I wanted to win the match, but as I threw him down. This is the size thing. I literally noticed as I was generating all this force to throw him to the ground, when I hit the ground, I was still attached to his leg. So when his body like ricocheted in the mat, I flung around on his leg, and I was like, "Yo, man!" Like, to me, like in my head, I was sort of like, "This is just a size disparity." I was like, "Fuck, man!" Like there's like I think it's Newton's law one of Newton's laws, like force F equals ma. Is that a Newton's law? It's like some sort of physics thing.
Force is.
Mass times acceleration. Well, whatever. Something. Maybe we'll call it my law. I don't know. Whoever invented that.
We will accept that physics for today.
Yeah. It is an equation, a math equation, a physics equation. But I generated all this force. I threw this dude, but like I didn't have as much mass as him, so I kind of like ricocheted across the mat, and I was like, "Yo, bro, this guy's big." Still beat him, but like I was like, I just noticed that I was like, I need to be a little sturdier. I need to be a little heavier, because I don't want to get flung around.
Yeah.
Still won. That was like back to what you said, like the skill gap and all that. It was just like, damn, this guy's like, these for my weight class, I get a lot of tall, long motherfuckers. So like you have to think about these. There'll be some like short meatheads too. Like we got those guys too, which is kind of cool. So I'm a little similar to that, but you have to think about like the body types. That's maybe a little more strategy thing.
Yeah, and that actually is a good point when you're selecting your weight class too. Is like
body types.
You have to think about who am I going to be going against in this weight. Like, am I going to be in like a weird spot where like my body type's not going to match up with the majority of them? Like, maybe you don't want to be a bowling ball in certain weight classes, right? Like, just that's something to consider when you're picking out what weight class you want to go into. And like, some weight classes are going to be just by percentage of population might be your more athletic ones, where you might have like more athletically rounded, right? You might have strong, fast, whatever for the size. And then other ones you might have like super strong dudes, or where like if you're a fast heavyweight, you might be beating out other guys because they might just be a little bit stronger and slower than you, and like so you have to look at what your strengths are.
Yeah.
Compared to what the strengths generally are in that weight division.
Valid. I have a couple like new guys, a couple like white blue belts who are competing, like first or second time. Like they're new competitors and they're going to Koba this weekend. And there's a couple who are like, "Oh, I'm going to do 185," and I'm looking at them like, "You need to go lower, man." Like they're just their body composition is not where it should be athletically for that division. But like, I mean, what am I telling them to drop 20 pounds? Like they're not going to drop 20 pounds. It's a long term thing.
Yeah.
Like for a tournament like that, you go in and I'm like, hey, you know what? Just make 185.
Yeah.
Just go in and do it. I'm not going to tell them like, dude, you might run into a big fucking strong motherfucker who's like their 185 versus your 185 of body mass is a lot different.
And I think a lot of guys underestimate their ability to drop the weight too, especially with like time. Like obviously, if you weigh 185 today, you're not. If you've never done it before, you're not making 165 tomorrow, right? Like, probably no one is, but not many people are making that weight cut, right? Especially brand new. And like a lot of guys, they get surprised, and some of them just start hanging out at that around closer to that weight afterwards. They're like, "No, dude, like I felt great in that weight division."
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, imagine telling a white belt who's a white belt. So like, let that sink in for a second.
Yeah.
They're new. They're new in the sport. Like they're maybe not the most athletic person. Not right away, but they're going to work. This stuff takes years to kind of build up to.
Yeah.
And they're like on the right path. But telling a guy who's maybe like 15, 20 pounds overweight that you at 185 might run into a dude who looks like a fucking bodybuilder at 185. Yeah. And I'm like, you're 185 versus that guy's 185. Like, not the same thing. Now, whatever. It's just the way it is. Like, you're a white belt, no big deal. Just go get the experience. Who cares? But in my head, I'm sort of thinking, buddy, you need to either gain 12 pounds of mass or you need to lose 12 pounds of fat.
Yeah.
And it isn't happening in the next, 8 weeks. It's just not. It's not. So, okay, here we go. We're going to go out there. We're going to have a good time. Like, don't get injured. Just get, have a good experience. Don't worry about the outcome.
Too.
If you draw, if these again, they're white belts. So like they might draw another person like that who's a similar body type. Like cool, good, perfect. Similar. That's exactly what I want. Like someone who's like also your counterpart, your opponent is also a new student who isn't athletically dialed in just yet. This stuff does take a while, and that's ideal. But what if you got some dude who was like a college basketball player, a college football player, and he's like weighs that weight. He weighs that weight naturally. He's really like athletically, like just jacked.
Yeah,
a jacked 185 versus like a kind of soft 185.
Well, and they're fresh. They're fresh out of like another sport too. Like they know competition. That's the other thing. Or you might get the guy who's jacked and he's probably getting promoted on the. He's also going to get promoted on the podium. On the podium, later. A guy who competes all the time.
It's true. It's true.
So you never know, but.
If you're new, give yourself a break.
Yeah,
is all I'm saying. Don't worry about it.
This is information to, this is information to like start to digest and start thinking about. But like, yeah, like you don't have to. This isn't all that you don't have to do this right away. Like, if you're going to your first competition, focus on the competition first. Like, you don't necessarily need to worry about the weight cut yet if you aren't comfortable doing it, or you don't have someone who can help guide you through it.
Manage your expectations.
Yes,
that's a big one. Manage your expectations. Like you're a white belt. Like obviously we want you to win. Give yourself a break. It's your first tournament ever in like a brand new sport. Yeah. The white belt means you don't know anything anyways. It's okay. Like that's why you're here.
Do you remember your first competition?
Yes.
Like, did you cut weight for it?
A little bit.
A little bit.
No, I wasn't crazy, man. No, I didn't really start cutting weight until I was like a brown belt.
Yeah.
That was like I basically took like a hiatus between purple and brown, and then kind of came in and had to learn all this shit the hard way.
Well, yeah,
I did cut weight. We cut weight together for some of those things, man.
Because we started training together right after that hiatus.
Mm-hmm.
So, and yeah, then we just sort of like, we're gonna just do it. We're gonna compete all the time.
But
cut all the weight.
No, true, so. But like the value of that, and this is what I would tell any white belt or blue belt or anyone new to it, is that like your first competition is not your last competition. If it's your first time doing a thing like this, again, want you to do well, push yourself, but also like temper your expectations. Like if you played any other sport growing up for years as a kid, like were you that good at it the first match you ever did? Like when you play baseball, when you play whatever sport, like you have a season.
Yeah.
You're gonna compete multiple times. So you get the opportunity to like learn how to compete, learn how to do these things. So if like you're going into it thinking like I'm gonna have the best possible experience my first time, and that's that, you're probably gonna have a bad time because you're probably not gonna. I mean, you might come out and kick everyone's ass, and great, more power to you. Like that's what we want, but it's like think about it a couple steps ahead.
Yeah, and like
You're gonna if you do this multiple times, you're gonna get to where like you can do these things, but you can't have to earn the right to expect high performance.
yeah, like if I've had that conversation with people too, like
I've had to struggle on the other side of that. I was like, why?
Yeah.
Why am I not immediately awesome at this?
And yeah, we'll also get into losing at some point. But yeah, I mean, like for sure, tempering expectations. Focus on if you're brand new at this and you've never cut weight before, it's your first competition. Maybe let's focus on having the best competition experience, and then be like, all right, I know what competing's like. I know where I stand in that weight division. Maybe I want to go down now, or maybe I actually should go up. Like maybe I need to put on mass so I'm higher, and like so maybe that's the better way to look at it, is like let's go out, let's compete, let's see where we stand in the world of us competing. Because if you're thinking about cutting weight, you're thinking about competing.
That's right.
This is not about losing weight.
No, 100%. And it's the coach's job to kind of like work with the student, the athlete on this stuff. What I have basically two things that I want for any new competitor. The first one is don't get injured.
Yeah.
It's the biggest one. All right, number one, don't get injured. Number two, I would want them to want to do it a second time.
Yeah.
You don't have to, but it's sort of like, hey, like, did you have a positive enough experience that you want to do this again? Because, yeah, you're not going to immediately be awesome at it. And, like, then you can start thinking about these things, like, big picture. And, like, all right, like, here's your pathway now. Like, you're a blue belt or whatever. Like, we're going to go out there, we're going to learn a bunch of stuff. You're going to learn how to have a game plan, how to implement that. Like, don't forget behind all of this, you're actually still learning the technique. So you might not even be good at the actual raw materials just yet. Not to say that they're shit, but you get what I'm saying. It's like... You can also take a step back and be like, yo, man, big picture-wise, you just don't know the martial art that well yet. That's okay.
Yeah.
You can still play the game of it.
You have time.
Exactly.
The rest of your life to get
You have time. You have time. So it's like if you wanted to be like a consistent competitor, and you can be a consistent competitor competing once a quarter, once every 3 months. It's pretty good. Yeah. That's more than some guys who I know who are brown and black belts who coach competitors. It's fine, too. But, like, that's a decent clip. If, like, imagine if you're like, all right, I'll do this just once a quarter for a couple of years, and I want to like get to where I actually I'm competent at this. And you can compete more than that. Like I said, Andrea did 3 in 1 month, like a month ago. She's a serious competitor.
Yeah,
she's dialed in on all this shit because we've done that work years in the past. She's gotten to where now she can be a lot more strategic and tactical about it because like she's chosen that path. And anyways. But like if you're new, it's like yeah, like you got to start thinking about like you said like big picture. You've got time, right? Well, let's think about where you want to be when you're a purple belt, and then a brown belt, and then a black belt, which is going to be a few years. So like give yourself a break. Like one tournament's not that big of a deal.
Well, especially if you decide to go down that competition route. This is all we've expanded beyond weight cutting, but it's fine. If you decide to go down that competition route too, like. You're kind of signing up for what that jiu-jitsu path looks like at some point. Like, once you reach a certain point in competing, you're signing up for what that jiu-jitsu path looks like, and then you start deciding, is my pathway going to be competition? How do I optimize this? How do I optimize this pathway and that's where the weight cutting starts to come in, for sure, because, like, if you're going to be... You're going to be getting promoted a lot, sometimes, depending on the school. But like
you will get promoted.
Your performance, and that doesn't mean winning. That just means your performance and your ability to showcase your jiu-jitsu in competition might be one of the ways. It's again, this depends on your coach.
It's a factor in your evaluation.
Yeah, that's going to factor into your evaluation, and so like you are going to then have to look at optimization. So,
which I would add to that. This is. Using the same example I mentioned earlier with like the 185-pound kind of soft body white belt who's like, hey, look, if you want to go down this path, like, all right, we're cool, let's do it. We got guys.
Yeah,
we got guys who can help you with this. Step into my office, like you got to start lifting weights right now. Like it's sort of like you start to look at things like that. You're like, all right, man, like no, you should not be competing. The way you are right now, you're not optimized for 185. However, do you need to necessarily lose weight? You probably need to like gain some fucking muscle. So, back to what you said, long road. Hey, like, all right, like, this is something we're going to do. We're starting lifting tomorrow.
Yeah.
It's our good strength and conditioning. We're going to change your body type. It's not an overnight thing. This is the long path that we're talking about. But that will get to where if you end up staying at 185, cool, like you're strong, you're big. Or like maybe you lift and like you naturally kind of lean out and you just, basically what like by developing like an actual athletic program and mapping this out over years and months, like you're more or less optimizing yourself naturally to what your body type is. Which is then, that answers the question of weight classes more than anything. But if you're not doing that, like if you're like, I want to do my first tournament, again, set the expectation, don't get injured, and just, can you do it a second time? It's a pretty low bar. But that's not a bad thing at all. It's like, that's all I need for a first time competitor. But if we're going to do this like 25 times over the course of a couple of years, we'll start doing the work day in, day out, week in, week out, that someone who wants to be an athlete should be expected to perform. Back to what you said, like if someone comes out, someone's same division with the soft body 185er, and for all my soft body 185ers, don't take this personally. I'm just using it as an example. Don't get upset. But like
it's around the weight.
Well, let me give you another example. We have a dude on the team who's like was like a fucking international level swimmer. This dude's like a fucking beefcake, dude. He's jacked as fuck, tall as fuck, jacked as fuck. Like that, he's going to do his first tournament this weekend. Someone's gonna draw that guy and be like, "What the fuck have I done?" Which is gonna be awesome. I can't wait to see that. But like, that dude is like, he's competed before in a sport, and like he's kind of dialed in naturally to what I said a moment ago, like what is physical for his body type, like what his optimal size should be, knowing that like an athlete in any sport needs to like learn to play their game, be strategic and smart at the game, so increase their skills, but also like do the physical work, conditioning, strength, to get to that strong, healthy body type, which this guy's done that part. So then really it's like teaching him the martial art and, keeping him from getting injured and all that, and then teach him how to compete and stuff. But like that dude checked that box, we're good. Now it's like, all right, let's just refine your skills. Do you want to keep doing this? I'm going to encourage the fuck out of that guy because he can be nasty. But that's a different style of person. Like if someone hasn't done that, like, all right, we're going to get you on the program. This dude's kind of done that in a different realm for sure. But if you want to do this, like, there's nothing stopping you from, you can do that too.
Being athletic is being athletic, like, whether or not he got there from swimming or not, right? Like, so yeah, for sure, like, you have to definitely, you have to, if you're going to compete, you have to be an athlete. Like, for sure. Because, I mean, you're doing it's a combat sport.
It's a fight. Yeah, someone's trying to rip your arm or twist your neck or something.
They're trying to do anything. They're going
to try to make you tap out in whatever way they can. Yeah, so like it's
the quickest way.
There's no other way to do it. Unless, again, like you're just going out there to have fun, that's fine. Yeah. But if you want to be like a serious competitor, like, yeah, man, this is like, it's a combat sport. Someone's coming out there to hurt you. So you got to be ready for that shit.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Definitely. So, we went over some weight cutting for you guys. Went over some, how do you pick your weight division? We kind of went over that a little bit, like, picking where you feel the best. How close am I to where I need to be? Can I get down one? Can I go up one? So, looking at that, a lot of this too, talk to your coach. If you have
all of it, talk to your coach.
Yeah, like if you have multiple coaches, like Scott and I have coaches for strength and nutrition. We have, and so we also, outside of just the actual jiu-jitsu portion of it. And so like, if you have wherever you have coaches for, like, lean on them. They'll help you make those decisions, and they'll help you get where you need to go. Outside of that, do you have anything else on the topic, Scott? Or
I got a lot.
Roll it out.
No, we're all right, man. We're good. I'm good.
All right, so again, thank you guys for listening to Fighters Drinking Coffee. We went over weight cuts and a little bit.
You want to plug the Discord?
Yeah, and so we have a Discord. It's just Fighters Drinking Coffee podcast that's on Discord.
Can you put that shit in the show notes or something?
Yeah, I'll put the link in the show notes.
Make it easy for
that just go in the show notes, click on that link, get in there. This is a new thing we're going to be working on. We're going to be adding our guests in on here. We're both on it. It's going to be a good place for the listeners to interact with each other, but also you're going to be able to interact with us and the guests. So if you have questions for any of our previous guests, you can just go on there, hit them up. They have their own, they're all tagged in there, so all you have to do is just search their name, and it should pull them up.
Minimize the offensive and harsh language unless it's really funny.
Yeah.
And we'll be the judge of that.
Let's be constructive, but,
it has to be funny.
It can be funny. It's fine.
If it's not funny, well, we're going to scold you.
Let's not attack each other. That's fine. We're all aggressive jiu-jitsu people in some way, shape, or form. But, we want to try to get a way to engage with you guys, answer some questions. If we miss some, if there's something that we didn't specifically touch on and you found the topic interesting, you can find us on there.
Discord.
On the Discord. So again, we'll put that in the show notes. Fire Drinking Coffee Podcast. Hit follow on those.
Review
socials.
us on Spotify.
Oh yeah, hit whatever app you listen on. Follow and review. Hit 5 stars. You can even tell us we suck. I don't care. Just hit 5 stars. And hit follow that way, because every time someone follows, that helps us out. And then we're still working on some more things to help give you guys some other ways to get in on this podcast. So
more to come.
We'll add those. We'll let you guys know as those develop.
Like and subscribe.
Thank you, guys.